I'm Mark Hunter of the Sales Center. A question for you. How effective is your prospecting CTA? Really, we could scratch out the word prospecting and just write how effective is your CTA. But I want to talk especially today about prospecting, because if you're going to make the call, if you're going to send the email, make sure there's a CTA. That's the topic of today's show, and it begins right now. I am always amazed at the number of salespeople who reach out to me trying to sell me something, and they really lack a call to action. They just muffle their way through it, whether it be in a voicemail, whether it be in an email, whether it be in a phone call. See, here's the whole thing. If you're going to go through the effort of reaching out to somebody, you got to have a next step. You got to have a call to action. If you don't have a call to action, why are you doing it? Don't think for a moment, well, I guess if they really want me, they know that they'll need to reach out to me. Hold it. Make it simple. Your CTA, call to action, is all about making it as easy for the customer to do business with you. Don't sit there and put out a CTA that says, hey, don't worry about calling me back. I'll send you an email. No. You sit there and say, hey, call me back. Leave your phone number. Then you still send them an email. Here's the whole thing. I want to make it as simple as possible. When I mean simple as possible, it's also if you have somebody on the phone and you make a prospecting call. Now remember, you're interrupting them, okay? So chances of them having time to talk with you really isn't going to be possible. So what are you doing? You're making an appointment. You're making an appointment to follow up with them. Don't sit there and say, well, why don't you call me back when you have time? No, you sit there and you give them an exact time. And you don't sit there and say, hey, what's your calendar look like a couple of weeks from now? A couple of weeks from now is a lifetime away. It's what's your calendar? What does your calendar look like this afternoon if you're calling them in the morning? If you're calling them in the afternoon, what's your calendar look like tomorrow for 10 a.m.? And you give them a very specific time. They say, no, it doesn't work. Well, how does 2 o'clock work? And if that doesn't work, then you say, okay, what time would work for us to talk tomorrow? You've got to lead the prospect to setting up that exact time. Now, the reason I say to do it on a very short window is this, because if you put it out there, say a week out, or even 3 or 4 days, they're going to forget who you are. They're going to forget the reason for the call. They're going to forget everything. And chances of them blowing you off is going to increase dramatically. This is why I sit there and say, you want to make it easy and you want to set up that CTA literally for later that day or the next morning. Don't make it complicated. Now, when you set up the CTA and when you ask them for it, say, hey, what I'll do is I'll share with you some insights. I'll share with you. Make it valuable to them after they've committed to you. Now, this is what's key. Because again, sometimes people will make a commitment knowing they're going to blow you off. So I just put a little reminder out there for them and say, hey, this is great. When we talk tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., I'm going to share with you some insights and ideas. I'm going to share with you some stuff. And this absolutely increases because, again, what I'm doing is I made it easy for them to make an appointment with me to make it time to follow up. And I gave them a reason. The reason is not just we're only going to take 15 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it might be. No. And here's one final piece regarding CTA. Don't sit there and say, oh, let's block out an hour. Nobody gets an hour. 30 minutes max. And if you are dealing with senior level people when it comes to a CTA, I just say 20 minutes. Let's block out 20 minutes tomorrow, 10 a.m. Now, here's the whole thing. It's very difficult to make a meeting for 20 minutes on your calendar. So what do? They block out half an hour. But to them, it's like 20 minutes. Now, don't sit there and say a couple minutes because then they'll say, just email it to me. No, don't. You want to have that conversation. So the idea is the CTA is a conversation, not look at this report and let me know your thoughts. It's a conversation. What have I shared with you? I've shared with you some ideas as to how to make your CTA more effective. And I want you to start using it right now. My name is Mark Hunter, the Sales Center. The Sales Center podcast is about giving you 2 episodes each week. One, a short one like this, and a second one, a longer form, deeper dive interview. Why? Because I want to help you see and achieve what you didn't think was possible. That's the goal of the Sales Hunter podcast, to influence and impact you. Hey, I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. Great selling.